All right, we're pleased to have on today from Fulton, New York, easily one of the most skilled guys to ever lace him up. First round draft pick to the Edmonton Oilers in 2004. He's a Memorial Cup champion and probably best known for his puck skills and lacrosse plays on ice. After all that, we're pleased to have on today Rob Schremp.
What's up, fellas? Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to have a little hockey talk and golf talk with you guys today.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Like I said in the intro, one of the most skilled guys I've ever seen via YouTube or whatever it is.
You ever seen Luch play?
No.
No.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Rob, first things first here. What's going on with you? How are things with you? What's going on? What's up?
Yeah, things are good, man. I jump back into the game, doing some player development stuff and working with players, doing game video and then doing some, mentorship sort of stuff with players on a one-on-one basis. We moved to Latvia 2 years ago and just starting to get my lane figured out and sort of develop a couple things. So doing it from Latvia, my wife's from here. So we moved back here. We got a daughter now. She's almost 4. And things have been going really well. So even though pandemic, outside of that, it's been an interesting couple of years, but developing this new lane for myself has been kind of fun, seeing some challenges and developing outside the game of hockey in a business sense, but, using hockey as the business. It's been pretty unique.
Absolutely. Okay, Rob, I want to talk about, growing up in Fulton, and I don't know if that's 100% correct, but, walk us through a young Rob Schremp, hobbies, sports, just kind of what you were up to as a youngster.
Yeah, I was very athletic. I played every sport growing up. Wrestled, football, baseball, basketball was very brief. Funny story, actually, I almost quit hockey for basketball. My dad played, and that was his kind of major sport. And when I was 8 years old, I was going to play basketball instead of hockey because they're obviously the same season. And my next door neighbor, Robbie Williams, me and him grew up together. We were outdoors every single day playing everything you can imagine: lacrosse, basketball, get the hockey stick. So we were, thick as thieves. And he had a pair of flak shoulder pads, and you could rock them for lacrosse or hockey. And I love these things. So the day that I was supposed to go to basketball tryouts, Robbie says, "Hey, if you don't play basketball and you play hockey, I'll give you those shoulder pads." And I was like, that's all it took for me. I never actually went and played. So it saved everything, because, the way it panned out, 5'11" with an 18-inch vertical, I'm not really sure how far the basketball career would have taken me. So
not exactly Steve Nash, eh?
Yeah, no. So I think I made the right route, and Robbie helped me get back on track. So yeah. Robbie Williams is I got a lot to thank to Robbie Williams.
That's awesome. All right, Robbie, let's jump into your hockey career a bit here. When did you really start getting a passion for it? I guess you just told the story about how you got into it, but because at a young age you had a ton of success. So let us know about that.
Yeah, for me, I was kind of a house league player up until I was 10 years old. Like just that travel hockey, so to speak. Fulton, New York. We played a lot of towns like that, like within 45 minutes. Our big treat was going to Buffalo every year for the Pepsi tournament up until I was 10. It was like a huge kind of year-end event. That was 2 hours away or so, and that was a big travel weekend for us. So up until 10, I was just playing that kind of house league circuit, so to speak. I was pretty good at it. And then at 10, I got seen by a AAA team, the Syracuse Elite AAA Crunch was the name of the team. It's a mouthful to say. But they wanted me to play with them, and they gave us a chance, and we took it. And that summer from 10 to 11 years old, I hit a growth spurt of like 4 inches and grew like, 30 pounds almost. And my game really kind of elevated at that point. There was that piece of it. And then the other piece of it that was really, instrumental for me was Don Kernan bought the rink in Fulton, New York. And he was huge. He was awesome. He's a very brilliant hockey mind. And his son, Donnie Kernan Jr., took over the rink. And this guy, I've spoken about him before. Donnie Kernan Jr. has the best shot that I've ever seen in the world. I played in NHL, KHL, all these leagues, and Donnie was running that rink. And my dad got my brother and I some lessons with Donnie Kernan Jr. And that, those couple factors, Don Kernan taking over the rink, he gave us access to our family. Anytime you guys want to use the rink, go ahead. Then his son teaching us and being our mentors. taught us so much about shooting and scoring. That 11-year-old year, I scored around between 350 and 400 goals. And I had probably around in the range of 600 points. And I just gained a ton of confidence, and my game just skyrocketed. So that was kind of where it started. And from there, it was a huge rocket ship up until 16, 17 years old. So.
Well, that's a lot of points and a lot of goals. So, Rob,
Yeah.
I want to talk about the OHL here. You started with Mississauga, then got moved to London. I don't know if there's any money on the table there getting you over there, but walk us through. You won Rookie of the Year, dominated it in Mississauga. You found success right away. Walk us through your first year junior.
First year at OHL was tough for me, honestly. I played Tier 2 the year before, and when I was 14. So 14, 15, I was playing Tier 2. And I had really good success, ton of points, and was playing well and dominating. And yeah, I would say I was dominating the games. And then I got to the OHL, and that was my first real eye opener and challenge as far as that, because I couldn't. That level was, the 85 birth year, which was 1 year older than me, was pretty stacked. Jeff Carter, Mike Richards, even on my own team, Patrick O'Sullivan. It was a very good league. So Don Kernan was my mentor growing up, and he always told me, listen, Rob, every year that you change, or every time you go into a new league, it's going to take you 10 games to adjust. And that didn't really have a factor on me going in. Like Tier 2, my first game in Tier 2 at 14, I had a hat trick. And I followed up my first 10 games, I had 25 points. So I'm like, this would go either way, I guess. But that's the first time it hit me was OHL. It was a challenge. I came in, I was doing okay point-wise, but I'd never been snuffed like that. My first 10 games, I didn't get a goal. I didn't have one goal, but I still had 13 assists or something like that. I was never used to that. I always had goals and kind of balanced with assists. But So it took me a minute to realize the league and trying to find the patterns and find the, find the flow of the game at that level. And then once I got my feet wet and started after that 10 games, really, it landed true. Like from game 10 on, I really did well and had success and started taking over games. And then it was some nights Patty O'Sullivan would take over a game. The next night it would be my night. So we kind of had that pretty cool balance that way.
Yeah, no problem.
So that first year was fun. It was, moving away from home. It was different and different surroundings, different settings. But, the one thing I was very grateful for was the people that were there with the Ludzig family. Steve Ludzig was my coach, and he was awesome. He's like a second father to me, and treated me very well. And I had a ton of respect for him. He taught me some hard lessons too. I showed up to training camp that year. I had no idea about off-ice training. For me, it was always just, I got as much ice time as I could. And that was my training. Yeah. Showed up for fitness testing at 18% body fat. And he was like, yeah, no. That was part of the struggle too, to be honest with you. I was a bit overweight. So 10 games, it was, 10 games in the season got us to about, let's say mid-October, maybe almost November. And then once Ludsey told me, he's like, you're going to get in shape. I'm making you get in shape. If you don't get in shape, you're not going to play. And once you do, you're going to see the results. And sure enough, when I dropped my body fat, my weight came down. I started feeling lighter on the ice, started having success, could move around. These defensemen at the OHL level are just, a couple of notches better than that Tier 2. So you got to be agile, you got to be fast. And the success started to come. So that's what really, for me, bought me a lot of respect for Ludsey, because his advice was very accurate, and I could see that it was helping me. So it was awesome.
Nice. We're the member there.
What's up?
The member.
You're the member. All right, let's go back. Let's go into the London Knights and their program here. As everyone knows, it's a dominant program. What's the mentality that guys come in there with, and what makes that program so successful?
The Hunters have amazing experience in the game. Mark Hunter won a Stanley Cup. Dale played 20 years and played like an absolute warrior. He didn't get a chance to win a Stanley Cup, but he was captain of the Washington Capitals for a long time. True competitor. So these guys have great experience in the game, great knowledge in the game. So their theories on what it takes to win it's actually not theories. It's proven. Yeah. And it's the right details. They're not saying we're going to put up these catchphrases on the wall. We're going to have this culture. For them, we're going to have a winning culture, and they know how to win. So as a player, that's a lot of fun. It's a ton of fun to win. It is. That's what we all want to do. And the fact of the matter is Dale can also develop players as well. He can teach guys, the power play is always clicking at 25 to 30% every single year, it seems. For me personally, it taught me a lot about the power play. Before going to London, I would score on the power play, but it'd be more raw talent and just using my, abilities to score goals because we had one more guy. Where with Dale, I learned a lot about the setup, each piece of it, the moving parts and
The manipulation.
Manipulation and when to attack, when to shoot, and all those details we all learned, and everybody that plays there learned. So coming out of London, that's one of the best things. Is a lot of guys, if you're a power play guy, you'll really get some in-depth knowledge and information on what it takes. So that's the biggest thing. And then the city's wrapped around that team, and every night the building's full, so there's atmosphere, there's motivation for the players. It's not hard to get up and go when you got that kind of setup, 9,100, and they're loud and they're excited. What's that?
Easton College there too.
And then yeah. Well, I don't know about these times. I know in our times we really enjoyed that Western Road.
It's still the same way.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the other part of it. That's young dudes and your teams, and you got that after the show, after
winning Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah. We had Jim Bob Rays. It was Cowboy. It was a country night on Sunday. So there was so much fun there. We had a blast. And for us as a group, especially that Mem Cup year, we did it all together. We won we won on the ice together. We hung out and enjoyed the city of London together. We rolled together as a group. It's like a brotherhood. So it was, it was amazing. It was such a good time.
And you lit it up, and you won a member and the league title. So yeah, that's hard to beat that.
All details, yeah.
Rob, I think I'm probably wrong with this. Was it 20th overall? In the
25th in the draft, first round, 25th overall.
So in the 04 draft, walk us through that day. You had drafted to the Oilers. I mean, I don't know. We love this stuff. Obviously, like talking to guys that get drafted, and we've had guys that have been like supposed to go in the first, and they don't go to the fifth, and they're sweating and they're changing suits. Walk us through the day. What it meant to you and your family.
Yeah, it was wild. It was crazy. So that's the day you kind of, for us, it's kind of turned that mindset onto the NHL. Probably around 14 or 15, it started to become more serious. So those 3 or 4 years, you're really geared towards this kind of that one day, the draft, because it's up to that point you feel like that's the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
And where you get picked and that sort of thing. So a lot of energy, a lot of emotions, and I was ranked higher than I went, and I didn't fall to the fifth, but I was ranked top 10 and was slipping down. And that's, in those moments, it feels like each minute feels like an hour. It seems so long. You don't know what's going to happen. And, then you're literally, as you slip, you don't have any idea why you're slipping. It's not like they're, commentating over this. You're just sitting there and be like, okay, what's happening? And for me, I was ranked top 10. And then all those meetings after the top 10 teams that were picking that year, probably 10 or 12 teams were like, you're not going to be here at our pick. So, this meeting doesn't matter that much, but, we'd love to have you. So after the top 10, so it's like each time that I remember the meetings with the people, like, yeah, they're going to give me, and then they don't. And then, so it's like this roller coaster, and it's funny to laugh now, but when you're sitting in it, dude, it's a pressure cooker. And you're kind of like, what's happening? So, yeah. And to top it off, I had the NHL camera. They were sitting like 2 stairs down with the camera on me. Kind of, it was like the whole time until I got picked, and I was mic'd up, and I was like, "That's even worse." It's like, get this out of here. I don't want
to. Just brain waiting for it.
Yeah. So once we got picked, I had a ton of people down there. We had 125 people, friends and family that came down. A lot of people drove down. My aunts and uncles brought their motorhome down. So it was a big celebration, a big roar once I got picked. And
where was the draft? Sorry, Rob.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, it's not cold there.
No.
Yeah.
It was hot in that rink then in the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was good to get over and having all those people there. There are a lot of people that were along for the whole ride. Some of my youth hockey buddies when playing together, 11 years old, their families were down there. It was really cool. So once that stress kind of got over and finally got picked, we celebrated, enjoyed what just happened. And we're happy to get to our first steps to the show.
Awesome.
All right. So you mentioned earlier how it takes 10 games to adjust to the next level. Let's talk about your pro your pro life in North America, how do you feel like that, how it went, and what was the big adjustment for you?
Yeah, my first year was in the minors, and it was the same thing. I struggled out of the gate. Yep. I came off a really big point season in London and thought I was going to carry that over and just dominate the A, and it didn't happen that way. So, there's those variables. You go to a new league, there's a ton of different things. It's all new players, right? New systems, different types of players, especially when you're in the minors. That year we had half of Edmonton and half was Pittsburgh Penguins. So it wasn't even the same organization. It was two totally different organizations. Wow. And they draft differently in one, you know what I mean? Like one's on the Eastern Conference, one's in the Western Conference. It's different types of players. So it was tough in the beginning because I didn't have a skilled guy to kind of partner up with. So in that conference, when we were there in Wilkes-Barre, it was like Hershey, Norfolk, Bridgeport. It was like a Philadelphia Phantoms. It was a big kind of physical conference. It was meat. I mean, we had 4 or 5 tough guys on our team. Every team had 4 or 5 tough guys. Yeah. And our team played this crash and bang type of style. And you think about where I came from the year before in London, we had like a 40% power play. And we had myself 145 points, David Bolin 130 points, Dylan 100, over 100 points, Sergei Kuznetsov around 100 points. So I had a lot of guys to kind of play that skill game with. And then I didn't have that. So it was a struggle for 10, 15 games, maybe even more there. It was probably about 15 games it took me to adjust to that sort of style and everything. And then the big thing for me, my rookie year was around December, Edmonton had traded for Robert Nielsen. I think it was right around then, maybe I might be off in the time frame, but whenever it was, we got Robert Nielsen, who's one of the most skilled guys I've ever played with in my life. He was nasty. And once he came over, we clicked like that. And I started to get points. I mean, the first 15 games, 20 games, I probably had like 7 to 10 points. I wasn't putting up. Yeah. So from that point on, I wound up being we wound up being a point a game, and it got pretty good totals. My first year, I think it was 53 points in 60 something games, and kind of salvaged the season. So it was good. It was a good learning experience and seeing what pro was going to be like in some regard. Opened my eyes a little bit, and good adjustment period.
So after the NHL and the American League, you went overseas, and your talent wasn't put to a halt by any means. You had some great numbers over there. Walk us through your time, playing over in Europe, because I mean, there's guys like yourself and Nigel Dawes, who's a king over there. You guys found success, and is that because the game's just a little different than it is in the NHL, the American League? I mean, just walk us through the time playing in Europe.
Yeah, Europe. So I mean, it's a totally different game, and each country is different too. So Sweden's it's an unbelievable league, tight checking, very skilled, but very tight checking system wise, and time and space is so tough to come by there. Guys are unbelievable skaters. You can kind of see in the NHL now the numbers have swung a lot. There's so many Swedes, and the NHL is really hot on Swedes right now because their skating ability, their thinking ability, hockey IQ is through the roof. They're in great shape. So that league was, in my opinion, outside the NHL, was the second best league. Switzerland was a little bit more like, I don't want to talk degraded by any means, but a little bit more like ball hockey, okay. A bunch of times. It didn't happen once or twice, but like a guy goes down on a breakaway, misses the breakaway. The other team we get the puck back, and we spring a guy in a breakaway the other way. So first of all, how'd the first guy get the breakaway? Where was the 9 other or 5 defending players, and then the guy misses? How's there a breakaway going back the other way? So it's just like back and forth a little bit more open offensively. So that's how I felt about Switzerland. Germany is a really big developing league. I felt like I was really kind of opened my eyes that they've come a long way with their development. The league was sick. And it wasn't just because there's a lot of imports there, but it wasn't the imports. It was the German guys. And I think the indicator for that would be 2018 Olympics. They should have they technically were supposed to win there. Yeah. They had the lead with under 2 minutes power play and, fluke block shot. So it is what it is that they lost. But the fact of the matter is that they were there, and they're kind of pushing that pace, and they're really coming a long way. You see some of their youth players now at Stutzel and Ottawa. So they're developing some great players. And the league was again, eye-opening for me. And it was chance to see all these leagues was a lot of fun because it was all different types and different styles of hockey. Yeah. It's totally different. So, and kind of when I first came over I went from the NHL to Sweden, I thought I had that thought process, like big rink, I'm going to tear it up. Like there's going to be so much, and 10 game, lesson. First 10 games, I had 4 points. And like when I'm flying over there, I'm like, I'm going to have 100 points. You know what I mean? Like I was like so set, like I'm going to tear it up. Coming from the show, I'm gonna do it, right? And 10 games in, 4 points. And I was playing really good though, like creating a lot of offense and playing well on both sides of the puck and all that stuff. But it's not that easy to score. My theory and the way that I saw it was in North America, you make one pass into a decent area, it's like bang bang. And on the bigger ice, you have to string together as a line 2, sometimes 3 passes to get a grade A. So there's such a window there for failure that they don't, like, eventually someone makes a good defensive play.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to go away from hockey here. What was like the biggest culture shock, like from moving from North America to Europe?
Well, I mean, outside obviously the language barrier.
Yeah.
That there's that. And then being in the NHL, like it's they call it the show for a reason. You're flying charters, you're eating like these pregame meals that are unreal. I think Freddie Meyer and I were in Moto, and the first pregame meal was like hot dogs and rice. And we're like,
perfect. I'm in. That's my
yeah, I know. I wasn't like I didn't want to eat hot dogs, but growing up, yeah. But it was just like, okay, like this is a different setup, and just minuscule stuff like not being able to shop at the grocery store. You literally don't know what you're reading, what it is, some of the packaging, like those little nuances are, after a couple months, you're kind of like, man, I just want to go and not have someone translate for me or,
Yeah.
Language is a big thing. It does. Yeah.
Rob, I want to ask you a question here. And I mean, you got to walk me through this because you were doing, they call it the Michigan now. I used to call it the Crosby. You lift it up on your blade, and I've seen videos of you doing this like on a 3-on-2. Like this must fuck up D-man. Like they're probably like, what's this guy doing? The 3-on-2, you're picking it up and you're throwing it on net. Like you must have been a big cross player, I'm assuming, when you were younger. But when did that? I mean, I don't know. It's obviously a skill, but bringing it to a live game, a 3-on-2 or a tight play in the corner, whatever. I mean, walk us through just I don't know how you felt that helped your game and change it.
Yeah, I was doing it when I picked that up. I remember the day that I picked it up, really. I was 12 years old and I started doing it. And, at that time in the Syracuse area, people were like, they were wowed by it, like kind of fans of it, I would say. Like they enjoyed it. And then once I got to those higher levels, it was like, you ever do that? You're sit your ass on the bench. It's like,
you get your hands whacked off your body.
Yeah, or someone's going to kill you. Okay, well then, you know what the thing is here, buddy? Like I can pick it up on my stick and play lacrosse with it. So what makes you think that I can't see some meathead coming to run me?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, not that translates, but like I see the ice okay. And if I can find a pocket to pick this thing up like a cross stick, that means that I know the space pretty well. And if Dum Dum's going to come hit me, good luck.
Yeah.
And if he gets close enough, I got a stick too, and I'll spear him right in the face. So try it.
Love that.
I grew up and I played in that tier 2 league. When I played in the tier 2 league, that gave me my like confidence because I was getting tomahawk chopped. And I wasn't I did the lacrosse thing a couple times there and didn't go over well with the other team, which I don't care about. Like the other guys, if they're going to get fussed because I can do something that they can't, like then, oh well.
Yeah.
But there was times like when I was lining it up, I was 14 and I was chirpy too. I was lippy. So I'd come down and dangle a guy, go through a defenseman. Instead of like him trying to make a play, he'd literally just take a stick like a baseball swing and break it over me. So I got my licks when I was younger and I wasn't really scared of that anymore.
Yeah.
Someone taking a liberty on me, so to speak. But yeah, so that the negativity kind of kept me away from doing it over in North American Pro. And when I did it at Red Bull, I was at a point in my career, I'm like, okay, like you're not going to bench me. I'm clicking at like almost 2 points a game right now. If you're going to bench me because I tried something, like this, then go ahead. You lose my 2 points.
That was incredible. I was like, this is a 3-on-2 zone entry. Then I'm teaching guys how to kick it out and drive the middle or get the deactivated. You're out there Crosby and throwing to the net.
Well, the thing for me, what I fought with a lot was like you got that negative kickback right to it. But for me, it's objective because like you just said, what does a defenseman do? So if I come down and I keep this puck on this ice and I'm dangling, the poke check is very effective or whatever. Yep. As soon as you bring that puck off the plane and you bring it up in the air, like, how do you defend that? And the thing is, like, if he tomahawk slashes me, that's a slash. It's a penalty.
Yeah.
So it's 2 minutes. What are you going to do? Spear me? That's another penalty. Like, what are you going to do? You really can't do anything as a D-man. You can just kind of wave your stick.
Yeah.
When you bring that other dimension of the ice into play, which is the air, it makes it objectively smart because it's you can escape from it too. And if you get to a place where you're comfortable with it, like if a guy lunges and tries to come at it, you can spin off with it like a lacrosse move. And now you're coming in and you're kind of one-on-one with the goalie. So there's a lot more to it than just fancy trick. I did enjoy that in the beginning when I was younger, but also I do have the backup part of objectively why it works.
Yeah.
And if you work on it just like anything, if you don't work on your sauce pass and you're out there throwing flailing ducks through the middle of the air, you're going to get in shit too.
Yeah.
If you're trying to pull this lacrosse move off, you keep trying to do it and you keep turning it over. Yeah, nobody wants to see that, the coach especially. But if you master it, take the time to do it right and figure it out and you can pull it off. I don't see the right. It's not right to have a thing of like, don't do that. Or the negativity that comes with the Michigan. It's like, how else would you score from behind the net?
True.
How else would you get it in the back of the net? You can't. Would you rather him keep it on the ice and like try to take a hard snapshot off the goalie's back and in? Because if he misses that one, that's going out of the zone.
Yeah, you got to regroup.
So
and you got to regroup.
Does a guy like Zegras or I can't even say his name, Sveshnikov, have they ever reached out to you and said, hey, how do you do this? Or they ever reached out and be like, hey Rob, you probably got shit on a little bit when you were younger. I'm gonna try this. Have guys ever reached out to you?
No. There's so much out there now for social media and that sort of thing where guys are picking up tricks off of there and picking up these moves. And I wasn't in that era. A little bit of YouTube, but I wasn't doing tutorials on it or anything. It was just kind of, it would get caught at an all-star game and then blasted on YouTube. So wrong era for me.
Yeah. So you mentioned that, how this is these skills are such a big part of the NHL now. You grew up in a heavier NHL, more dump and chase kind of playing. If you would have came up today, do you think you would have had a longer NHL career?
I believe I do. Yeah, the game's changed a lot, and I talk about it sometimes. But the thing is, for me, is I kind of proved what I can do in this game in 05, 06. So when the rules changed, they got implemented in the OHL and every league, NHL down, and at that level where there's none of that hooking and all that other stuff, and which the old game I enjoyed too because you found your pockets inside of that.
Yep.
There was different pockets of open space where you had to find patterns as a player to understand where you can get to. And as a smaller guy compared to the bigger NHL, where you could, again, find those holes where you weren't going to get mauled, where you weren't going to get smoked or taken advantage of. So the old game was great too. But in 05, 06 with the new rules, I kind of proved my skill level. And now what we're seeing is 10 to 15 years down the road, even a little bit more, but now that the game has evolved and it's really taken advantage of those rules and called the old NHL has kind of been washed out.
Yeah.
We're no longer having the fighters. We're no longer having the guys that play 2 or 3 minutes and have 5 penalty minutes. And we don't have just pure body checkers now. You have a guy the game now is Tom Wilson, Reeves, these guys, they can play. So the evolution of the game's finally happened from those rule changes in 04, 05 at that lockout. It's really kind of come. And now we have guys on hot streaks 40 points in 20 games. And Nazem Kadri's on one right now. I mean, there's not one or two. There's a lot. You've seen these skill really come to the top and we're getting that point totals where it's fun to see. So I was a guy that knew how to go on streaks with points. And I think in today's era, being able to be creative and not have any of that negative, if I do this, I'm not going to play.
Sent down. Exactly.
Yeah. Sent to the minors, having that freedom. And that's why in London, I had so much success. I was given that carte blanche because Dale had already given me my lesson on what he expected in my first year. So I knew my boundaries and gave me a lot of creative freedom. I didn't get that much later on down my career. So played on a little bit of a tight rope the rest of the time. And then when we get to Europe, when I did the 3-on-2, the crossing again, there was no rope. I was here you go.
All right. So I was texting Merles. He told me to ask you about practicing with the junior team when you were 13. Walk us through that.
Yeah, no, I got it. That was a great opportunity. Actually, those Don Kernan owned the junior team, Syracuse Junior Crunch, and out of Syracuse, they played in the Ontario Provincial. At that time, it was the Metro League. I think it was called the Metro. So I used to go out there with those guys, and that's part of it. Donnie Kernan, his son, taught me how to shoot, and then Don would bring me out with the juniors all the time. And a lot of time he'd set me up with the goalies. And Don was a guy that used to go through a lot of goalies. At training camp, he would have 15 to 20 goalies come try out.
Wow.
And
Heavy.
a lot of times Don would bring me out and say, I was 12, 13 at the time. And he'd be like to the goalie, like, he's going to shoot on you. And you could see it. The guy would be like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
why, like, what's this low budget operation? We got a kid out here, blah, 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 and I'd have a pile of pucks there. And I would just, in my head, I'd be like, yeah, watch this, buddy. And then I would just rip these goalies apart. Boom. First 5 shots, bar down, low blocker, and then they would start to get serious. And I just keep sniping. And Don would be like, that's it. You get out of here. You're no good. Yeah. And so that was part of it. And then being around, like, Merles was an idol of mine, to be honest with you. I grew up idolizing Merles. I went to all their games and watched them, and Merles was nasty. Like, Merles was sick in that league, man. He was going to college, so he wore a bird cage, and that's in that Metro League. It's a tough league, right? Like, all the other Canadian teams are half shields.
Yeah.
Merles, I remember he's wearing these Bauer Air 90s with tongues out, this bird cage Jofa hanging off his face, your big mop. Yeah. He tore it up, and I idolized him. And those guys were great for me as far as hockey, to kind of be able to go out on the ice with that level. And, there's a lot of days out on those practices. I got in the drills. It's tough to say from my own perspective, but I was one of the best players outside of Merles on the ice.
Yeah.
So he was Merles than me. And then Don was almost going to put me in a game at that age. And then the league kiboshed it. They were like, no, like, 13, if he gets hurt, like, it's terrible insurance problems, blah, blah, blah. But so the hockey part was great, but being in the locker room with those degenerates was probably not the best thing. Not learning this stuff at 13 and hearing this crap was, it got me a little bit too far ahead of where I should have been.
So Merle's also told me to bring up your trips to Sundsvale and when you played in Moto. We love stories.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah. Yeah, he was like a couple hours away, so it was awesome having Merles there. We used to travel there whenever we get a break, and we'd hit up the casino in Sundsville. Chris Migliore was there one time, and yeah, we had a blast. So it was great having Merles right down the road and playing against them a bunch. They were kind of a rival a little bit, Team Row. So seeing him in warmups was hilarious. But yeah, I took a couple trips down there. One trip I kind of missed my ride back for 2 days. So I extended for 2 days. Yeah, I didn't have any urgency to get back to Moto, and we Merles were having a blast. So some casino nights. Yeah, we had a bunch of good laughs. So I won't go too much into detail because I don't think it's.
We'll talk off the record about that. We can throw.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, Rob, walk us through your business now. What are you up to now? Skill development. I was creeping the page there, and it's pretty cool. So walk us through that. And I wanted to mention that I can't exactly say what Dale Hunter quoted, but I know he said that you ran one of the best power plays at the time for him when you were in London. But, obviously we all know how skilled you are. Walk us through your business and just how you're helping, players today.
Yes, the way we're doing now is one-on-one with players with their game film and get the players, whether I got a couple 11-year-olds, and to be honest with you, when I started doing this, I never saw it like that. That's not a target or where I thought the market would be, so to speak, but got a couple 11-year-olds, they signed on, I saw their game film, and the game is so advanced. Like these 11-year-old kids, they're so skilled, and now it's a perfect scenario because they have the skill level. So now it's about giving them that hockey IQ side of it and helping them understand all these little situations, little nuances of the game, whether it be power play, 2-on-1s, attack and triangles and that sort of thing. So that's what we do is we get the game film from the player, watch their shifts and create teaching clips from their game situations. And we upload it into a library form for them to study and then connect on a Zoom call to kind of have that back and forth and a little bit more education on these things. So it's been a ton of fun. Another piece I'm doing is combine camps in the summertime. So doing a combine camp in Bled, Slovenia in June. And that's somewhere where it's going to be off ice testing and on ice testing. And then through the course of the week, we're going to have a bunch of practices around 10 in 5 days. And then also 3 games that will be live streaming for scouts, teams to be looking in and watching these players. So
awesome.
Kind of evolving into a couple different avenues, but that individual player stuff it's been a lot of fun for me. Just handing my knowledge back to players and watching it. That's the best part. When you tell 11-year-old kid like, hey, shimmy this guy up top, sell this pass, and then walk in and snipe. The next time you watch his film, he does it, and he's like, yeah, it worked. It's like I don't know. I love it, man. It's a lot of fun, and you get the same reaction really with the pro guys. hey man, that worked. And then the answer is always like, do you think I told you because it wouldn't work? You know, you think I wasn't trying to walk you down the wrong way, but one-way road. But so that's what I'm doing now. And again, it's been a lot of fun doing this in this lane, and it helps me be able to do it remotely. So it's been a great time.
So when you were playing, did you ever get like the knack to coach after your career? Like what made you get into this?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say like, I remember my last year in the AHL 2016, Tom Rowe would say it every day to the guys, you better respect Schrempy. He's going to be your next coach. I mean, I thought it was hilarious at the time. I never thought about being a coach in that regard as far as the team. The one-on-one stuff, I was always kind of like a talker and trying to help guys out, if, you know, and help them see the game. So I always enjoyed that, trying to help players see the other, you know, see perspective of the ice or see the ice in general and different things. My old agent gave me access to the Instat. He's like, Trippy, check this out. I think you'll enjoy it. And I went in there and it was unbelievable because then I could diagram instead of like using a whiteboard and drawing chicken scratch on there with these diagrams and these videos. You can literally highlight this space that's open or with visual kind of building visual picture memory. You can show these players like what you're talking about, what's available, what you can try, what's, you know, and that sort of perspective is super powerful. In today's era, I think most kids growing up, they're learning most of the things they learn is on YouTube. They watch how to on YouTube and then they go and do it. Yeah. My last year playing official pro in Austria, that's where the light bulb went off for me. Guys on the bus were watching videos on Fortnite on how to make kills or do whatever you do in Fortnite. I'm not a gamer. And then they pull their console up and do it. And I was like, guys, you know, you can do the same thing with your game, like your hockey game. And I got like a F you, Shrimpy, shut up. I'm like, okay. So I kept that in my mind. I'm like, I think this has legs because it is like that. You teach these kids. And the thing with me with video, it used to be like, people would show you like Ovi or Crosby or somebody else, like, look at him doing this, which is fine. There's a lot of detail in that. But if you can take a player in his own setting, and he's in this position and give him that information, I think that's more powerful. You know,
that's pretty cool. Yeah. Rip. Golf game.
All right. We're a golf podcast. We haven't talked about golf once. How's the golf game? Where are you at it? Where are you at right now?
I'm playing off a 3, which is kind of dusty for me. I got dialed in for a while. I was living in Florida, so I mean, it's golf heaven down there in Naples. I was playing down to a 1.2 for a long time. So the season's a little bit short here. Obviously, Florida, it's open, you know, it's pretty much 365.
Yeah.
So there's a good group here, though. Sandis Ozelinch, if you remember that name, played for Colorado.
Yeah.
He's a sick defenseman. He owns a course here in Latvia, and it's a pretty nice little track.
Nice.
Not very comparable to Florida, but nice for here.
Yeah.
You know, it's doable. And then there's another course in Yermal. It's a pretty nice track. So I play in the summertime. There's a little tour here. It's called the RTM Tour. Okay. It's actually really well done. You know, every week on Wednesday and Sunday, there's an event.
Nice.
And then once a month on a Sunday, there'll be a major where we go back to the back tee. Everybody goes back to the back tees. And it's like, you know, Wednesday and Sunday to the normal day, it's whatever, 30 euros a guy. Winner takes a percentage of the pot. And then on those majors, it's 50 euros a guy, a little bit more money, a little bit more. You see that a little more money goes in the pot. It gets a little more serious. And it goes all summer long. And then at the end of the summertime, from each pot during the summer, they take a 10% cut. And then there's like a FedEx Cup thing at the end.
Nice.
And it just creates like a great buzz, you know, and it's not like you see a lot of stuff for me, at least in the States, the men's league stuff. It's like guys just come every Tuesday to get absolutely buckled. And you know, just crash carts and shit and smoke darts. So it's nice to have this little bit of a, you know, competition, so to speak, and guys get together twice a week. So it's really cool.
All right, Rob, off to our segment called Questions from the Gallery, sponsored by Molson Coors. Tons of great flavors now. I think there's 20 different kinds now, Rip?
Maybe.
Yeah, there's a lot of good Molsons out there. Beer, Vizzy, seltzers, you name it. Check them out today. Please drink responsibly and always get home safe. Yeah, Molson Coors. All right, Rob. Go ahead, Rip. You go first.
All right. Question from the gallery. What is your ultimate foursome?
Ooh, ultimate foursome. I go Phil, lefty. I gotta go Tiger. I'd love to play around a golf with Tiger. And this can be pro or this can be anything.
This could be anything.
Yeah.
Whew,
Yeah,
that
you
opens the
can
door
golf
up.
if you want.
That opens the door up big. Yeah. I'm trying to think of him. I would go John Daly,
Whoa.
Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods.
That is a good foursome.
All right.
That's pretty good.
Love it.
All right. Nigel Dawes or you for King of Europe?
Nigel Dawes. Nigel Dawes for sure. He's unbelievable. Wow.
Once you asked set a handicap. Well, let's just do it. Set a handicap. We know you're a 3. What's your low round?
Low round 65.
Oh my God.
There it is. Wow. We got a player here.
Yeah, we
You
do.
probably had salty mitts around the green. Hey?
Yeah.
I started chipping. I know this is talky. I don't care, but I started chipping and looking at the hole from anywhere from around
I've heard
50, 60 yards.
Yeah, I've heard that you guys do that. Sorry, I cut you off.
It's better for target. It's just like hockey. You keep your head down, buried in your balls, and you shoot the hockey puck. You miss the net all the time. And I just started feeling that with the golf. I'm like, why not just look at the pin?
Aim
I
small.
started doing it. Yep. And then you start throwing these little darts out there, and your misses become different. It's actually very effective, very objective.
So when you tee off, you're staring at the pin?
I haven't had it. The drivers are crazy. Yeah, that's quirky. I can't do it with the driver. I got it down. I'll send you a video. I got it down from like a buck. I can go 7-iron down, 7-iron up. I can do it.
Really?
That's
Yeah,
nasty.
7 for sure.
6-iron down, it gets quirky. The blade gets a little straighter. And it's get some shanks in there.
Yeah.
So
Players are hit or miss. You either pound the ball off the tee or they got nasty mitts.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like Mike Sillinger from Regina, he's got the silkiest mitts. He doesn't need his fucking horn tooted anymore, but
No, he'll tell
his
you.
mitts on the course, he'll tell you now. His mitts on the course are unbelievable.
Yeah. All right.
What is your favorite beverage after a round?
Favorite beverage? Well, now that I'm over here, there's this beer called Valdemar Musia. That'd be my beer.
Yep.
And then if I'm going to a cocktail, it'd be a vodka Sprite, ice cold vodka Sprite, bunch of ice.
Love it. Oh, you and I have something in common.
Go
here.
to bar drink.
And I did the Michigan yesterday in morning skates. So we're now, Rob.
Same, yeah. Same, but different.
Yeah. Okay. Why the Lindstrom curve?
I started off with the McGinnis, and that was on the Sherwood 50-30 Featherlights that I used to rock. And then I found Easton came out with a Focus Flex blade, and the Lindstrom curve came with that. So transferred from that wood to that kind of the same-ish. Like the McGinnis had that round, almost square toe.
Yeah.
And I like that square toe feature. And I stuck with it ever since. I put a little cork on it now these days. I put like a Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
I have that same thing on mine, and I got that from Andrew Ladd. I was down in Atlanta playing with him, and one day he's just screwing around. He's like, "Hey, do you mind if I fuck with one of your sticks?" I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." And he torched it, and he took the toe on it with one of those, whatever the tools, and bent the toe on it, and it was money. It's actually my last goal in the show was against Henrik Lundqvist, and that was a week after Ladder put that in there. If you see this goal, it's an absolute snipe, and this puck was stuck in that toe. And that's what it does when you bend that toe over. The puck stays in your sweet spot the whole time, and it never leaves. Combined with that Lindstrom heel, that's deadly, man.
See, I have like that same little O'Reilly curve now on one of my sticks, but now I get them all from him. But the ones that I have from a buddy of mine that was drafted to Detroit gave it to me, and I tried it. And this thing was like almost like, I don't know, it's like a hook at the end, right? So then I had a hard time keeping it low. Now I figured it out now, but like, yeah, that little toe is just nasty.
Sweet.
You go top titty real quick.
You must just get a boner from like all the little toys you can do with your stick now, like all the variations you can have on your blade and flex and stuff like that, eh?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. The game's evolved all over the place, and the technology, because in the beginning, like we were torching them and doing that. And when I went to Red Bull, my first time in Red Bull, I started doing it. I went back to that curve, but I was doing it with the torch, and I would torch it, and we didn't have the NHL tools. Like I was using a door for a while, literally putting the door, closing the door, bending it. So it'd break the fiberglass, and I'd shove it in an ice bucket, and it would it would form it back together, and it'd give me maybe 5 to 10 shots with that stick. Those 5 to 10 shots would be money.
Yeah.
But after going through 24 sticks in 2 weeks, my trainer was like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "You can't do it. You're burning twigs." So eventually I got my mold made up, and now I got that from Bauer. It's actually my custom make or custom mold. So
Nice.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with the twigs, and technology is crazy right now. So it's great. So it's evolved a lot.
Yeah.
Rip. All right. Since we're talking about evolving, do you still wear graph skates?
No, I did evolve. Man, I had to. They were getting. I was one of those old 703s.
Yeah.
The leather ones until. Where was my last year wearing them?
Was it
My
New
last
York?
year wearing them? Was that?
Was it New York with the white backing, the drafts?
Yeah, I wore them after that. I wore them in Sweden and I wore them in the KHL. And then the next year, when I went to Switzerland, I changed. I didn't have a graph rep in Swiss.
Yep.
They were having trouble getting my specs. So I'm like, at that point, I kind of had this feeling that I wasn't getting back to the show. So I don't know if I should say this out loud. I wasn't as particular about my shit as I should be, or didn't I really care. I was like, just give me some Bowers, like just whatever, just put some new skates in my stall, please. So I kind of changed like that. I wish they had more reps over there and taking care of me a little bit better, but I love those. I want to go back to them now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a hold of them again. There's a company out of London. They're sick, man. Yeah, especially doing this. Yeah, they're the best comfort skate for sure.
What do you ever wear T-blades, Rob?
No, never. No.
I thought maybe Jochen Hesh would wear some T-blades.
Those are horrible, man. Those were loud. They were obnoxious. They were awful.
Yeah. I know a guy who he was playing, it was Huey.
Yeah.
Played in the NHL, but when he went over to Europe, his equipment manager was just shitty at sharpening skates. So he put on T-blades because he didn't have to sharpen them as much.
Yeah. That's the thing. My first year in Sweden, I couldn't get in my new pair of skates for like 3 months because I couldn't get them sharpened. They didn't know how to. The trainer we had was a great guy. Hope he's not listening, but he had no idea what he's doing. He was selling kitchen stuff the year before. He wasn't even in hockey, so he had the equipment manager. He didn't know how to do the radius on the skates, and he didn't know how to set up a new pair of blades. So he didn't know how to rocker them or do the radius.
Yeah.
And the first day he tried to do it. My first day I went on the ice, I literally took my first lap, and my legs went this way. And the blades were so screwed up. I was full split, almost tore my groins. I'm like, what the hell? So I was in these rotten boots for like 2 or 3 months more than I should have been. But these are some of the things you run into when you go over as well. Like you don't have that full service. It's like, then one other story I'll tell you is like coming from the NHL background, like you used to get reps come in the room and they'd be like, hey, if I'm using a Bauer, they'd be a CCM rep and you want to try our sticks, we'll make you some up. And I'd always, I'll try them. Yeah. You make me a couple or whatever, 6 sticks, I'll try them. So, with that mentality, I was over in Switzerland and same thing. Sometimes you get some reps come through and they'd say, hey, you want to try our stuff? And I'd say, yeah, to everybody. If I didn't like them, I'd wind up giving them to my brother. And in Switzerland, you have a budget. And I did not realize this. So I was saying yes to everybody. I got all these sticks. At the end of the year, I got a $20,000 bill for all those gears that I bought, all those gears that I said yes to. The skates, the gloves, everything I said yes to, I had to pay for. I had no idea that you had to pay for this stuff.
Oh, brother. Tony, any more?
No.
I have one more for you, Rob. It's we always ask this question. A piece of advice for a young listener today, listening, whether it's to be a lawyer, doctor, hockey player, just some advice for them.
One thing that it's so kind of generic, but like Dan Baldwin taught me as a young kid, especially as a young kind of cocky kid, with like Trimpy, with all these people around you. If you can give you one piece of advice, he's like, learn one thing from every single person and put your guard down for a minute. And you don't have to be so focused on yourself. But when you have this kind of resource, whenever you're in any kind of business, like the resources that are around you, pay attention and learn something new from each person. Whether it's, he said it too, he's like, whether it's, I don't care if it's like a guy puts Caesar dressing on his chicken at pregame lunch or how Dennis Bonvie ties his skate, whatever it might be, just learn something new from each person. And that'll make you a better person. It'll give you more information and it'll give you different perspective on everything. So that was something small for me that was actually pretty big. And now, again, as I mentioned a little while ago, that's part of what I have as a resource is all that stuff that I got to learn and all those things that people that I got to be around and collect. And maybe I didn't think they were useful at the time, but circling back now, again, I didn't play net front, but I did pay attention every day to Ryan Smith and how he tipped pucks. I did pay attention to these little nuances. So it becomes, it comes into your life in places where you wouldn't even kind of expect.
Well, Rob, this has been a blast today, man. I hope we can do it again. You're a beauty, skilled as hell. Wishing you nothing but the best with your, you know, your business. You know, let's stay in touch here and do it again.
Sounds good, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Rob.